The following program portrays explicit contact with the unsavory. If you suffer from sitting on a high horse, this show might not be right for you. Check with your local air traffic controller.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Above, the moon so high, like a diamond in the sky.
Standing for truth in the four corners of America. Fighting for justice on the frontiers of the culture wars. And turning resistance into an art form. Randall Terry.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. When do children become adults? And am I a Marxist and I didn't even know it? I don't know. I'm working through it.
It's time now for Down Home with Granny Jihad.
Allah Takrapa! Boys and girls, Muhammad teaches us about cleanliness. If a housefly flies in the drink bloop, of any one of you, he should dip it in the drink bloop, for one of its wings has a disease and the other has the cure for the disease. Drink up.
Welcome to today's program, friend. As we approach the showdown over whether or not Obamacare will be overturned and whether or not the government will be shut down, and I confess I have very little faith in the Republican Party to hold strong. I'm going to get to that in a minute. I want to point something out to you. I want you to think about this. Every single one of us, except arguably for American Indians, all of us are immigrants. Now, a significant minority of the population were brought here against their will as slaves. All right? So, taking the slave population that was brought here forcibly out of the equation for just a minute, why did people come here? Why did your great-great-great-grandparents, or maybe only great-great-grandparents, depending on what time framework, why did my ancestors come to this country? Did they come for free education? Did they come for free health care? Did they come for a free college loan? Why'd they come? Did they come for free stuff? No. They came for freedom. That's why they came. In the early days, people were coming here for religious freedom and for economic opportunity. And then later on, it had, again, the religious overtones of freedom, but it became more of a chance for opportunity. The chance to own your own home, the chance to own your own business, the chance to be free. Okay? They didn't come for free stuff. They came for freedom. They risked their lives crossing the Atlantic. They risked their lives crossing the Alleghenies, or the Blue Ridge Mountains, or the Mississippi River, or the howling plains of the Midwest, or the Rocky Mountains. They literally risked their lives for freedom, not for free stuff, not free health care, all right? What has happened in this country is a colossal shift from being people who love freedom and opportunity to people who are functioning, and I'm not trying to be unkind when I say this, but the facts are the facts. People that are functioning under a Marxist or socialist paradigm. Namely, that the government exists to redistribute wealth. The paradigm under freedom is that the government exists to protect life, liberty, and property, and to punish those who break rank and commit theft or murder, or some infraction against the God-given rights of other people. All right? That's why we have government. That's what Thomas Jefferson wrote in the Declaration of Independence, that to secure and defend these rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, governments are instituted among men. The Marxist paradigm is that government exists for the redistribution of the wealth. I believe it was Karl Marx who said the primary purpose of government is the redistribution of wealth. A few years back, I was talking with a friend of mine who was a college professor, a math professor, very devout evangelical Christian. And I asked him once, we were talking about economic policy and we were talking about government. I said, well, what do you think the primary purpose of government is? And he said, the redistribution of wealth. And I literally stepped back and I said, Lou, are you kidding me? Do you understand you just quoted from Karl Marx? You understand that's a communist premise? If we believe, whether we act it out or not, but if we believe that the government, our elected officials, have the right to put a gun to our neighbor's head and to force our neighbor or a group of our neighbors through their labor to pay for our daily bread, our clothing, our health care, our kids' education, whatever it is, then we have made the shift from an American Declaration of Independence, Judeo-Christian understanding of government that protects life, liberty, and property to a Marxist premise, a communist premise, a socialist premise. Now, I'm saying all this as we bear in on the potential closure of the government and Obamacare, whether it'll be implemented or overturned, to encourage you to start searching your soul and to ask yourself the tough questions. With my understanding of government and economics, was I catechized, was I disciplined, was I taught in a Judeo-Christian framework, or was I catechized and taught in a Marxist framework? Was I raised in the temple of the Lord or in the temple of his adversaries? Every day in America, over 3,500 babies are torn apart by abortion. Shouldn't all babies, like this living, unborn child, have the right to life? Baby killing will only end when Americans see the truth of what abortion does to innocent children. You can help end this Holocaust by showing the truth of abortion in your area with a Face the Truth tour. Go to facethetruthamerica.com to set up a Face the Truth tour in your area. The babies and their mothers will be eternally grateful. How would you like to be able to reach hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of potential customers with your product or your company or your web-based business? Well, you can do that right here on this show. Every single day, we get phone calls or letters or orders online from states all over the country where people are watching this television show. Right now, we are seen in 45 cities at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time every night, and then a rerun again at 12:30 midnight. You can reach them using this show at advertising rates that are so inexpensive, it would blow your mind. So, if you're interested, contact us at the phone number that you see on the screen or the email address, and we can talk about how you can grow your business and help support this show. James Madison said, "A well-instructed people alone can be permanently a free people." When does a person become an adult? Some countries it's 18, some countries it's 21. But when do they become an adult intellectually, emotionally, chemically, psychologically? This is something that it would behoove us to consider. Psychologists in England are actually changing their guidelines, saying that adolescence continues until age 25. Now, at first glance, something like this might offend people. I mean, especially since we send our 18-year-old boys and now our daughters off to war when they're 18, when they can die. All right? And and a recent study showed that they know that the brain, the male brain, does not understand true danger until around 25 years old. So you can see the benefit to the military forces of sending kids into battle who just don't have the right levels of fear, to use prudence and wisdom. That discussion aside. The reason that the psychologists in England are doing this is they're saying that we're forcing our kids to grow up too quickly. And I could not agree more. And they also said one of the reasons we're releasing these new guidelines is to go ahead and give a pass to both parents and children for the children to live at home longer. To live at home longer. Now, I want you to stop and think for a minute, because I'm going to say words right now that will bring a certain level of sorrow and remorse to parents, myself included, and a certain level of freedom for moms and dads who still have small children. The remorse will be for those of us who have older children. The good news will be for those of us who have younger children. Namely this: it's okay if we try and slow down our children's push into the adult world. Think with me. How many young people go to college, a university? They leave home at 18 years. They go to a college, and what happens? With many of them, drugs, alcohol, sexual immorality, pregnancy, STDs, car wrecks, right? Frat house, God knows what stuff, sorority house, God knows what stuff. Are you hearing me? There is a false wisdom, an unholy push from the elite of our entire country, or at least our pagan elite, I should say, to push our kids into situations where they become a prey to immorality, to vice, and to behaviors that in the end are not in their interest. I mean, those of you who are older and have kids that are adults, think back. How many of them might have been pushed out of the nest too soon? And then what happened? Now let's talk about our little ones. My wife and I have 4 small sons, and it is such a blast. They span in their ages from 7 to 11. It was 3, 2, 1 newborn when they came into the world. They're still innocent. We don't let them play violent games. We don't let them see immodest things on television. They do not have that hard, brazen edge on them that so many kids have. In the town where we live, all right, where this TV show broadcasts from, they actually had to take the little plastic igloos, the little playthings, off of the playground in the elementary school because so many kids were involved in sexual activity, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds, inside the little igloos, that they had to take them off the playground. One person told one of our staff here that as many as 50% of young girls in the town, just a half hour from here, as many as 50% of them are sexually molested before they hit 18 years old. Half. Now, how can that be? It's because the parents are not watching where their kids are. The parents are putting their children in a place where there is potential danger. Sleepovers at neighbors' houses who they shouldn't trust. Or maybe the neighbors are fine. The kid does a sleepover, but the neighbor's neighbor comes over and then brings harm to the child. People, the only eternal thing that God gives us in this world, besides our own soul, are our children. That's it. That's it. You and I, we're not taking anything into eternity except our own soul, and please God, into heaven, let us take our children through the shed blood of Jesus. But that means that we have to prioritize their safety, their youth, what they're exposed to, what they're not exposed to, and how old they are when we push them out into the world. We have to focus on terms that might be more burdensome and cause more sacrifices for us, but in the end are for the betterment of our children in this life and the next. Do you want to have knowledge, wisdom, discernment? If so, you have to read good books on theology, history, books that look at the lives of great men and women. So to help you to become a more effective Christian, a better witness for truth, somebody who can engage in productive conversation that exhorts and edifies those that you speak with, we're going to do something crazy. We're offering you these 7 books for a gift of any size. You just pay for the shipping and handling, and then give whatever gift that you can, and we will send them to you. But just to make it a little bit more crazy, I will send you a second copy of my 3 books, autographed. You can give them as a gift to your pastor or to a family member and help extend truth and justice in the world. This is while supplies last. James Madison said, "There is no maxim, in my opinion, which is more liable to be misapplied and which therefore needs more elucidation than the current, that the interest of the majority is the political standard of right and wrong." Welcome back, friend. Now to the mailbag. I'm going to do something a little bit unusual here. I'm going to read as much as I can of a letter that I just got from a lady in Colorado, which to me was genius. Her spiritual insights and the fact that she has the courage to say these things, not just to me, but to say them publicly. I want to read this to you. And by the way, you can always feel free to write us here with snail mail or go to the website you see on the screen and write us an email. We'll happily discuss what you write. Dear Randall, I read your superb writing on Christianity and extremism. I did a track where I show that Christianity is by definition extremist. All right? We pro-lifers, Christians, pro-family people are labeled right-wing extremists, terrorists, racists, etc. because our enemies deep down inside suspect that we are right and are unable to honestly debate us. That's true. You have to know that if you're correct on something and you're going up against somebody who is intellectually impaired, ethically impaired, then their first resort is going to be an ad hominem attack to the man. Ad hominem attack means they don't attack what you're saying, they attack you. So they resort to name calling. The intensity of their hostility, their false accusations against us, is evidence of the fact that they know that we are right. For if they didn't suspect that we are right, they would have no reason to be so upset with us and so hostile towards us. If you throw a rock into a pack of dogs, the one that yelps is usually the one that got hit. And of course they call us extremists because we are and should be proud to be right-wing extremists in the name of Jesus Christ. Now, I don't agree that we are terrorists or racists, but they called Jesus Christ false names also. That's true, people. Remember, Jesus said, if the world hates you, remember, it hated me first. And if we're not making someone angry somewhere for standing up for what's right, we might be committing the sins of omission, where we're not doing what we should do, or the sins of silence, where we're not saying what we should say. I continue. They called him, Jesus, wicked because he walked amongst sinners. His own people, the Jews, considered him a predator to them. Yet it's only through him that they can be saved and enter into eternal happiness. That does not sound like a predator. These kinds of accusations are based on malice, slander, and smear campaigns, which is diabolical in nature and influenced by Satan himself, the father of all liars and a murderer from the beginning. The world is a battleground. We are in constant battle with Satan, his demons, his legions, and his human agents. While good men sleep, evil men are awake and plotting. Even so was faithless Judas awake and betraying our Lord while the apostles slumbered in the Garden of Gethsemane. A constant vigil of prayer and fasting is a powerful weapon against this. Calling on St. Michael the Archangel, the angel who threw Satan and his apostate hosts out of heaven, asking him, St. Michael the Archangel, with your light enlighten us, with your wings protect us, and with your sword defend us, is a sure way to help in our battle against these spiritual, malicious, evil forces. Spiritual warfare in the old church style. America has a spiritual problem. Therefore, it can only be solved spiritually. America has a sin problem. It can only be solved through prayer, fasting, penance, and atonement, which includes activism in the streets and protesting. I love this lady. She's got the whole picture. We do have the spiritual element of prayer, of fasting, but part of what we need to do is to fight wickedness in the public square. Do I need to take a break? All right, I'll be back. I'm giving you this for food for thought, asking you to feel free to write me anytime. I love it when someone sees clearly. Don't go away. Do you want to get America out of the hands of wicked and unjust men and women who are destroying the republic before our eyes, and put leadership back into the hands of righteous men and women so that we don't die as a nation? Well, you're talking about social revolution, and there are rules in social revolution. We can look at the victorious social revolutions of the past, such as the end of slavery, the end of child labor, women's voting rights, the end of segregation, and so much more, and learn from their victories. Look at their actions, their images, their rhetoric, their sacrifices, and their final fruit. We will send you this series that originally cost $129, 7 books for students, 1 teacher's guide, if you'll give a gift of any size and just pay for shipping and handling. Take advantage of it today. Welcome back to the program, friend. Always feel free to write to me, either snail mail or an email. You can go to the website you see on the screen. I have a phenomenal letter here I'm reading from a lady in Colorado. God has favored this country from its Judeo-Christian beginning, but He has lifted His hand of blessing from us because we, as a nation, have turned our back on Him, and because of our compromising with murderers and liars, our lukewarmness, our apathy, our complacency. Our freedoms of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness come from God only. We have failed to give God what is due to Him. And since God chastises those He loves, He has allowed us to be ruled and governed by those who hate us and are enslaving us. In other words, He's allowing our freedoms to be taken from us. That's why we have a child-killing homosexual dictator in our White House. Satan and his agents only do what God allows them to do for a reason. America is under divine chastisement of God, and since He chastises those He loves, God will chasten America severely. There's no more time to stop it. Time has run out. The only thing we can do is pray hard that God will mitigate His chastisement. Obamacare is not about health care, it's about enslavement, control. I don't think Americans see the train wreck we are headed for. And since we've slaughtered our future generations for 40 years, we have a shortage of young people in the workforce. Our economy is suffering. And since the Muslims do not abort their children and do not use birth control or contraception or any kind, they will soon outnumber us and may overrun us. I see this as a chastisement also because of our stupidity as a nation and as Christians. For God is not mocked. Like the people who hate us say, quote, "We control the stupid Americans," close quote. Even they know we are stupid to believe them and go along with them. Since I've moved back to my home state of Colorado and seen the sorry state of the state, you know what, I'll quit reading here. I don't have enough time. She goes on to say that she's in Boulder, the Boulder area, which was hardest hit by the recent floods, right? And guess who's in Boulder, Colorado? Hearn, the abortionist, the baby killer, Hearn. His last name is Hearn, Dr. Hearn, who does 3rd trimester, late-term child killing. And she just goes on to say, look, these floods are the chastening of the Lord against this state because it was the first state to bring child killing to America, and it's defending people like William Hearn, the murderer. I loved this letter, and I wanted to read portions of it to you, A, to invite you to write me, but B, just to show a lady with the courage and the clarity of mind to see things in a way that's pretty accurate. And that we have the courage to say the truth, even if people call us names. Don't yield to an ad hominem attack against you. Stand up for the truth.
Bloop.